Welcome to the Sex and Astrology podcast. I'm Brandy Joy, your host, and today we're going to be talking about sex with Pisces. Okay, so Pisces is an archetype, right? It's a sign of the zodiac. And like I always say to everyone, we have all 12 signs of the zodiac within our personal birth charts. Okay, so we're not saying that every sun sign Pisces is just like this. I just want to give a disclaimer at the beginning of this. When I talk about Pisces, I'm talking about the archetype, the pure archetype. And so if you look at your birth chart, you'll notice that you have the planets, right? You have the sun, you have the moon, you have the Mercury, the Mars, the Venus, the Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and plus you have your ascendant and your midheaven and your lots of fortune and et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So we all have Pisces somewhere in our charts. All right. And so you have Pisces somewhere, and you might have a planet in Pisces. So the more that this resonates with you, the more Pisces archetype you have within you. All right. So you might have, let's say Mars in Pisces, or you might have a strong Neptunian influence in your chart, right? Or Pisces might rule, a particular house in your chart, and the ruler of Pisces is somewhere that's influencing your life. All right, I just want to give that disclaimer because I have so many people saying, well, I'm a Pisces, but I'm not like that. Or I'm a Cancer, I'm not like that. Well, look at the rest of your chart, look at your main archetypes and see what's influencing your life. But today we're going to have some fun with talking about sex with Pisces. So this can be that you have Sun in Pisces, that you have Mercury in Pisces, Venus in Pisces, Mars in Pisces, or any other, major personality factor within Pisces within your birth chart. So if this resonates with you, take a look at your chart and see why that is. All right. And if you're dating a Pisces or interested in a Pisces, or maybe you are married to one or something, this can tell you some interesting information that maybe will resonate with you. So let's talk about it. So Pisces is ruled by the planet Neptune. Also, traditionally, it is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is expansion and luck and opportunity and exploration and everything. Neptune is the planet of beauty. It is the planet of mystery. And also, let's talk about what Pisces is. Pisces is what we call a receptive or yin sign. A receptive or yin sign means it has a certain kind of internal, intuitive kind of quality to it. It might be a little bit more introverted. The sign is a little bit more, might come off a little bit more like loner, right? A little bit more isolated than, say, a more extroverted sign like Aries, right? So Pisces is more in the internal world, more imaginative, intuitive, sensitive, pays attention to energy. It's that person that feels people out. And if you're at a party and you see a Pisces, usually they are maybe talking to somebody one-on-one, right? They're not necessarily like the big life of the party unless they're drunk. But Pisces is very yin, very internal for the most part. They're very intuitive, so they can read you very easily, very quickly, especially your energy. Pisces is also very adaptable, changeable, because it's a mutable sign. Mutable signs are very adaptable, very flexible, very changeable. They're very go with the flow. They like to live in the present moment. So they can be kind of they can be kind of wanderers, and they might really enjoy like right now. So they might be in love with you right now, but tomorrow maybe there was somebody else and they love that person too, right? So Pisces is what we call mutable, and not just mutable, but water sign. It's a water sign, so it's watery, which means that it is imaginative and intuitive and sensitive and feeling oriented, a little bit more empathic than other signs. It's the empath. It's the sign of the empath. It's the sign of the psychic. So wherever Pisces is in your chart is where you're the most psychic. It's where you are the most intuitive. You're the most sensitive. You are the most just really you are very in tune with that place in your life. Okay. Um, Pisces is also very artistic, very creative. So a lot of times it represents the musician, it represents the artist, archetype. So if you have a lot of Neptunian influence or a lot of Pisces influence in your life, then you're very likely a poet or a writer, or somebody that's very intuitive or artistic, somebody that is very imaginative. So it rules the pineal gland, okay, in the what we call the pineal gland in the head. And what that is very active when you have a lot of Pisces energy, especially if you have Pisces, your Mars is in Pisces, right? It means that it kind of energizes your pineal gland. And your pineal gland is the gland that releases melatonin, which gives you visions in your dreams and things like that, right? So the more you work with meditation practices, the more you activate that pineal gland. And so somebody that is very much Pisces is very prone to stillness and imagination, and activating the pineal gland and having very vivid dreams and clairvoyance, right? They see visions. So this person is very imaginative, very dreamy. So Pisces is like the dreamy romantic lover. They're very idealistic, and that's Jupiter, right? Think of Jupiter and Neptune as well. Very idealistic. They if they fall in love with you, it's like now you're on a pedestal, right? You can do no wrong for the most part, right? Unless they decide to go into victim mentality, which we know Pisces can do. Right, but very charming, but not in an outgoing way, not charming like a Leo or a Libra, for instance. Not somebody that would just be like, oh, hey, look at you, you're so beautiful, right? They're not like that. Pisces is somebody that's going to maybe be a little witty, very one on one, very charming in a more like, you have beautiful eyes. Oh my God, your eyes are so beautiful. A little bit more subtle, a little bit more one on one, not going to be like extravagant about it. There's somebody that is going to be more romantic about it and a little bit more, just me and you kind of energy. So, but Pisces is known to be self sacrificing. It's kind of the servant of the zodiac. Virgo and Pisces are on the same axis, and they're both like the servant of the zodiac. And so Pisces has that kind of I serve you kind of energy where it's, oh, let me take care of you, very empathic, very compassionate, very like they can feel you. It's like you don't feel good, so they're going to take care of you. Really good at caregiving. They make really good like doctors and nurses, people that are very helpful for people that can caretake. And if you get sick, it's good to have a Pisces with you. I know I have one of my long-term exes is a Pisces. I'm a Cancer, right? Very compatible. I remember when I had surgery and stuff, he was very good at taking care of me. He was constantly like, oh, what do you need? He would rub my feet and everything. Just really sweet. When it comes to when you need them, when you need somebody to be there for you, they'll be there for you. Usually the Pisces, the pure Pisces archetype. But they can also be escapist. The Pisces energy is known to be an escapist, and can be also the lost soul, right? So this, if you have a lot of Pisces energy, I mean, you could be this imaginative artist and everything, but you can also be this escapist that likes to smoke a lot of weed like every day. Maybe you are very drawn to, alcohol, drugs, doing things that kind of you escape reality. And also usually very influenced. So if you're with somebody that's like that, you might also become that. So for instance, if they are into drugs or alcohol in some way, and when I say drugs, I mean, it can just be like something as simple as weed, where that person is into this stuff. So now you start doing it as well, right? That's the Pisces archetype. It's very adaptable. It's like, oh, okay, you're doing that. Okay, I'll do it too. Right. So you might notice that if you have a lot of Pisces energy, that you have a tendency to do that. There's a lack of like a boundary there. It's almost like it's so watery and so mutable that it really just kind of it's like the energy will mingle with your energy, and that's what makes them so intuitive and psychic, because like their energy is just so fluid that it picks up. It's like a little antenna, the energy. So the god and goddess archetypes that are associated with Pisces are like the goddess is Aphrodite, the goddess of love, of course. Aphrodite, we really associate her with the ocean and everything, and the moon. And Aphrodite, um, she is she is very, very like fluid, very psychic, very intuitive, very natural, very empathic, right? Very beautiful, very spiritual. And then we have Jesus Christ. So the God is associated with the Christ or the Messiah. And so this is the Pisces is ruled by the fish archetype, right? The fish archetype is the fisher of men. The mythology of Jesus the Christ and the Messiah archetype that has to do with, if you think back to the mythology and the stories of Jesus, it was like, washing of the feet, which the feet or Pisces, that's the part of the body that's ruled by Pisces is feet. Has to do with self-sacrifice. It has to do with reincarnation. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac before you reincarnate and start over again. I mean, you could just go on and on if you look into this in terms of Jesus Christ, or you could just say the Christ or the Messiah archetype, because it is associated with that. And if you go back and you look at the mythology, it all matches very nicely to Pisces, which is supposed to be the age of Pisces. From my memory, it was the age of Pisces was when the whole Christ consciousness Christian era, right? Anyways, okay, so I talk about those in terms of mythology and everything. I'm not religious myself. So in terms of romantic partnerships, sexual partnerships, Pisces usually prefer well, let's talk about men for a second. Um, Men usually prefer more older or more experienced or more domineering type of women. They really like the experience and see, Pisces are very confident sexually. They're very confident sexually, and they're very intuitive. It's like lovemaking is just it's a very fluid, natural thing for them. It's not something where they're thinking about it or getting caught up in their head. Usually, it's more that if you're very Pisces, you're very just like it's just natural, and it's very gentle lovemaking. It's not like forceful or aggressive kind of lovemaking. They're very fluid in bed, and they usually like partners that are a little bit more aggressive, sometimes a little bit more domineering, a little bit more experienced. They're kind of drawn to that, especially men. Women, on the other hand, sometimes they like younger guys. But I mean, it really doesn't matter in terms of like the age as much for women. Usually it's more about like them taking on the dominant role. So women usually like for them to take on the dominant role, and men usually like for the other partner to take on the dominant role. So Pisces usually are a little bit more what we call the feminine archetype. So they're not as aggressive, and they prefer someone else to usually take that on. Now, again, that's not everyone, depends on your chart. If you've got Mars and Aries and, your moon is I don't know, Aries too, or Leo, right? You're not going to have so much of that. You're going to be a little bit more dominating yourself, right? So you've got to look at your chart. But Pisces itself, and somebody that has a lot of Pisces within their chart, especially if it's like their sun and they have a lot of water and stuff, they're going to have this like feminine quality about them, this more yin, receptive, intuitive, more like servant oriented. In fact, Pisces can get really caught up into the master slave dynamic. And if you've ever seen the old movie from like, sorry, my nose is itching. It's a lot of allergies down here in Florida right now. But if you've ever watched the movie The Secretary, I believe it was called, with Maggie Gyllenhaal and James Spader, I think that was his name. She plays that Pisces archetype, and I'm going to call it the Pisces archetype in that because she's very much the servant. She's very She's the secretary and she takes on this submissive role, and it's very BDSM, this movie. If you haven't seen it and you're interested in Pisces, you're interested in this stuff, you might want to check out The Secretary. It's a little dark, but it's like a dark comedy in a way where she takes on this very submissive role, and she starts working for James Spader. His role was he played this lawyer that was a dom. He was a dominant, and so she was a natural submissive, and so they were very drawn to each other, and it was all about their relationship and this whole BDSM thing that and a master slave thing that happened between them. And it reminds me, when I think about the Pisces dynamic, that Pisces, I'm going to serve you. And you could say like Pisces with, like, let's say an Aries or something like that, because Aries is more aggressive, right? Aries is more dominating, whereas Pisces is more receptive and usually takes on that more servant kind of role. And again, not always. It just depends on the person. All right. So I just want to make sure that I make that clear. And another reason that they like these more experienced older partners usually is because um, these partners are less clingy. They're a little more independent. That's important for a Pisces. They're not possessive. Pisces are not naturally a possessive kind of sign. But they are an idealist. So they want that romantic connection. They're all about connection and romance and everything. But they're not going to try to control, dominate, or possess. And they don't want to be dominated, controlled, or possessed. They want to be able to live in the moment and do what they want to do, and you to have your life, and to be this wonderful, wonderful creature that they can idealize. And Pisces can be very forgiving as well. They're mutable, watery, and so they can be a little polyamorous. Not always, depends on your sign, your charts. But anyways, they can be polyamorous and very open to social experimentation. They can be very forgiving if the person they're with cheats on them. They're going to be a little bit more forgiving than most signs, because they know that people make mistakes, and they can be very understanding, and understand that people like to try things and live in the moment because that's how they are. So they can be a little bit more understanding and forgiving usually. And a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them do have a tendency to do the same thing themselves, where they might experiment, and then, I mean, depending on the Pisces, they might even like tell you about it. And I know quite a lot of Pisces. I've seen a lot of Pisces and did readings for them where it's like, oh, I'm in an open relationship, or I'm I'm in love with, I remember one guy, I'm in love with three women and I just love them all so much, but they didn't know about each other. It wasn't like, it wasn't like he was in a polyamorous relationship. He was just, he was kind of young. He was a young Pisces. And he was like, I don't know what to do. I'm in love with all three of them. They're so wonderful. So then I actually, the Pisces I was with for long term, he actually, I remember after we had broken up and we were friends later, he was trying to get back with me at one point, and I said, you cheated on me this other time that I know about, and his response was, well, I erased it out of my head, so it doesn't count. It didn't happen because I erased it out of my head. It's no longer there. Such a Pisces way to react to something. Very illusionary, very imaginative. I create my reality. It didn't happen because I removed it from my own head. But Pisces are very sensitive. They can be a bit almost childlike in their vulnerability. And usually, like I was saying earlier, they might get into healthcare where they're caretakers or nurses and doctors, where they like to help people. But they can also, a lot of them, they like to volunteer for like pet rescues. I've known quite a few that do that. Usually people that are very much into taking care of animals and advocating for animal rights and stuff, they can be very much, that Pisces kind of energy. One guy I was dating, he was a Pisces, and I cooked Cornish hens. And if you've ever seen Cornish hens, They are they're really small, they look like little baby chickens. And I made a Cornish hen and he cried and wouldn't eat it because he said it looked like a baby chicken and that was terrible and he would not eat that. Um, we were young at the time, we were teenagers, but but it is very Pisces to do something like that, to say no, that's sad, that's a baby animal. But Pisces are very responsive lovers, right? So in sex, right, you have responsive and then you have initiating. So Pisces is usually more responsive, so that means that they respond, they get turned on by you initiating more so than them initiating. They really like it when you initiate. Now, again, it depends on the person, but somebody has a lot of Pisces, they are usually more inclined to be responsive to you. They get turned on by you coming on to them typically. But if they find that doing some things if you let them know that, hey, I like it when you take the lead, they will. They are very adaptable, very mutable, very go with the flow. And so they will take the lead if that's what you want them to do. So Pisces they have a very big appreciation for creative experiences sexually and power dynamics. They love the psychological aspect in sex. And usually they're very open to experimentation, and especially like I was saying earlier, the master-slave dynamic, humility and discipline and things like that. They're going to be usually very open to, hey, you want to try those? Okay, they're down. Usually they're down. Now, if it has to do with other people getting involved sexually, that's another issue. Sometimes Pisces are not about that. They're not about, like, you bringing another person into the experience, because remember, they're very romantic and sensitive. And so even though they're very open and down to doing what you want to do as a partner, they're not necessarily going to be down to including other people, because now that's messing up the romantic ideal that they have. But when it comes to like serving you sexually, they're usually going to be like, you want to do that? Okay. They're going to be more likely than most signs to be down to doing what you want to do. Pisces, more than any other sign, will be open to anal play, anal sex, usually. They'll be open to like costume and role play, especially because think about it, they're creative, they're imaginative. They love their fantasies. A lot of times are very much about like different scenarios and role playing and things like that. So role playing and costumes, they love costumes. They love like using the aesthetics to like putting on some boots and maybe some whatever kind of costume stuff you like. They're open to using the imagination and trying some things out. They're also open to trying out usually like discipline, like I was saying, like spanking. And if you want them to put on your clothes or some certain costume, usually they're going to be like, okay. You want them to put on something weird, they'll usually do it. They'll usually give it a try for you. They're one of the most open-minded in the zodiac, really. Really, they are. If you try some of these things like, pegging with guys or like anal with girls, a lot of the other signs are going to be like, no, maybe. I don't know. But Pisces is like, whatever you want to try, okay, let's give it a shot. And usually they are into switching, so they're not necessarily going to be like, oh, I have to play this role all the time, where I'm the dominant one or I'm the submissive one. Usually they'll switch, and so they'll like try different things, and they'll be open to like, one time you're going to do this and then the other time they're going to do this, right? But, I was saying, they don't usually like to bring people in to the relationship. But here's the thing, actually. When it comes to men, they can be a little bit more open to that than women, in terms of the Pisces, right? So the men, some of them can even get into like more orgies or cuckolding, where they are like the man is watching their woman like have sex with someone else, or just they're having sex with somebody else and they're having sex with somebody else. So the men can be a little bit more into that, depending on the man. But women are usually a little bit more put off by bringing somebody else into the bedroom, especially if it's the same gender as her, because she can be a little bit more like, like idealistic and romantic about like the situation, and so that can cause an issue. Not all, of course, but for the most part, that's usually the dynamic. But Pisces is a more yin introverted sign. So as long as you will open up to them, they will get really freaky with you and usually get down with anything. Once you open up to them and you tell them, hey, what you like and stuff, they'll usually play into that. They're not usually going to be turned off by things for the most part. They're usually going to be very open minded and experimental in bed. And water signs in general, if you know about water signs and you've had sex with any water signs, you know that water signs typically love oral sex. And Pisces is definitely a water sign. They're very good usually at oral sex. They usually love oral sex. And it's almost like a service kind of thing. So think about the Pisces archetype, very servant oriented, very submissive in certain ways. And so for them, it's almost like a dominating thing though, where they are serving you in a way that it's like consuming you and making you you know really just kind of squirm under their natural abilities, right? But water signs, they are usually into the oral sex. They like the liquid in bed. They usually are very much into uh, oral sex and using saliva or using maybe some oils and lubrication. They might also be into even sex during woman's menstruation. So water signs are a little bit more liquid, a little bit more dirty and open-minded in the bed, especially Pisces. They're very adaptable and flexible and changeable. And what do you want to try? So yeah, anyways, that's the Pisces archetype. I'd love to hear about your thoughts in terms of the Pisces archetype sexually. And I will see you guys next week. All right, thanks for joining me. I have actually, might want to download my ebook on sex and the signs. So it's on brandyjoy.com. All right, see you next time.